Well, my new drum sander came in this week. I've been woodworking for a very long time now and very slowly accumulating different tools around my shop. But I've never bought a new big tool for myself. Everything has been used or given to me. I've got my joiner, my grandpa gave me that. My planer, my dad gave me that. This radial arm saw behind me, I bought that very cheap from a neighbor. My dad gave me my lathe, and that's been a fun toy to learn on. My grandfather gave me a belt sander, he gave me a drill press. And my wife's grandmother gave me a Jet 14-inch bandsaw sitting right over there. And I've got a video about that, putting in a new 6-inch riser block on it if you're curious about seeing that process. The only big tool I ever bought for myself that was new is my DeWalt table saw, and it's a small job site saw that I had to build a bench and table around to make it kind of fit my needs. So anyway, that's a long way of saying that I felt like treating myself to a new tool. I actually thought I had a used Supermax picked out, ready to go get it, and then that deal fell through. So thought, screw it, I'm just going to buy myself a new toy. So today we're going to put it together and start trying it out, see what it does. Looks like it came with some, these are pretty nice rubber feet, but I actually bought a bunch of casters the last time I was at Harbor Freight, and I think that's what I'm going to put on there instead. There, she is all put together. So up until now I've only been finger tightening everything because I wanted to make sure if I needed to be able to flex and move things a little bit, I had a little bit of slop left in it. I also wanted to make sure that it was standing flat on all 4 feet before I started tightening everything down. Well, here is the first hiccup I've run into, and it's with these Harbor Freight wheels that I went with. The stem on the wheel, the threaded part, is a 19mm nut, and the nut on the wheel itself is a 17mm. Now I can get at this, obviously, that's pretty easy. The problem is I don't own a wrench small enough that's going to allow me to get in there to hold the post tight while I turn on these lock washers, or lock nuts. So I have to make a wrench. So I found another 17mm nut that matches the same size of the short nut on the wheel that I need to be able to hold on to. And then I grabbed my cheapy wrench that came with my lathe. This is the only piece of steel I have laying around that's actually thin enough to get into the space that I need. So what I'm going to do, you can tell I've done this before, I'm going to just trace out the size of this nut onto here, and then we're going to cut that shape out so that I have my own wrench to fit exactly what I need it to do. Now that I've got my custom wrench built, I can finish tightening these wheels down. Looking good so far. I like it. Well, that's pretty much phase 1 of this whole deal. Now I need to get this thing on the floor and look ahead to see what it takes to put the sander on top of the base. The box that the sander came in says it weighs 122 pounds or 144 pounds or something like that. So I'm going to have to get creative about lifting this up there, because that seems like a lot of weight to try to manhandle and put down onto a strategic place right where these bolt holes need to go. So I'm going to look ahead to that, and we'll move on to the next step. My plan here is to use this big boom arm that I have that swings from a post in the middle of my shop to hoist it up out of the box and high enough to set it up on the stand. It's not the ideal situation. I wish I had a better hoist, but it'll get the job done. The last step before running this glue up through the machine and actually testing how it works was to make sure that everything was calibrated correctly. I had to start by dropping the drum to the table till it just barely touched, and then you could make sure that the depth gauge was right. You also had to check the tracking of the belt, which is easy enough to do. You just turn it on and watch it spin and make sure it doesn't move off to the left or right. And then you need to make sure that the drum is parallel to the table. And I checked this one, and it was within 3/100ths of an inch, which is just a minuscule amount, so that'll work just fine for me. So I finally got to run this glue up through. This is ash and black walnut, and it's going to end up being a chessboard when it's all done. You need to smooth out and flatten these sides, and then they'll get cut into about 1-inch chunks and rotated and glued back together. Anyway, that's the end of my first video on this sander. If anybody has any questions about this machine, please leave them down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Clearly this tool is pretty new to me and I haven't really put it through its paces yet, but if I don't know the answer to your questions, then I will put a little effort in and try to figure them out, because chances are I have the same questions as you do. So, thank you for watching, and I'm sure you're going to see lots of this tool on future projects, so look out for that.